She tamed the war hero from her past life, all for the sake of her own revenge. But the man who constantly called her sister, begging for her affection, was a true two-faced psychopath. She was the hunter, and at the same time, the prey in his eyes. Ever since Arlene found out her fiancé had fallen in love with someone else, the fiery passion she'd felt for 3 years vanished in an instant, leaving only disgust for him. She was no longer the fool who would stand in the rain just to get a glimpse of him, nor would she be happy for days over a single smile. After her feelings faded, she realized Demian had probably never loved her at all. He was only interested in the power she had accidentally revealed while saving him. Her family had possessed a powerful healing ability for generations, serving only the royal family, and only the emperor knew this secret. So when her fiancé met his true love, he didn't even bother to pretend anymore, and even wanted to enjoy the blessing of all. Arlene insisted on breaking the engagement, but her fiancé refused. He grabbed her as she tried to leave, loudly demanding to know why she was backing out. "I don't love you anymore, Demian, let's break our engagement." She shook off his hand, desperate to leave this disgusting place. She never expected the deranged man to draw his sword on her and ruthlessly pierce her heart. She had overlooked one thing: Demian was far more cruel than she had ever imagined. The last words she heard before she died were, "I will never let anyone else use your power." Arlene regretted her foolishness, to have ever loved someone worse than a beast. If she could go back in time, she would make him suffer 1,000 times more than she did. "My daughter Arlene," a familiar, kind voice woke her. Her father, who had died 2 years ago, was sitting by her bed. "Happy birthday, my daughter." "Birthday? What do you mean, father? It seems my daughter is still not fully awake. Was this a dream?" All those painful memories. "Impossible," she called out to her father, asking what year it was. Her father looked at her, confused. "Isn't it the 829th year of the imperial calendar?" She was truly reborn, back to her birthday 4 years ago, the day before she had ever met Demian. She hugged her father and wept, filled with endless regret and self-blame. If it weren't for her infatuation with Demian, her father wouldn't have been so disappointed as to rush to the battlefield, ultimately leaving this world. The tragic days at the ducal house were still fresh in her mind. She would not miss her chance for revenge. Demian suffered from a disease that was nearly impossible to cure, and she was practically the only one who could heal him. She would use this to lead him to his ruin, but approaching him without a plan could lead to her own destruction instead. So she had to find someone strong enough to take her father's place on the battlefield. And who could stand against a swordmaster like Demian? And in a few years, the Empire would have just such a person. He was the Empire's war hero, a once-in-a-millennium sword genius. But right now, he was just a gladiator slave struggling in the fighting pits. Before the Crown Prince could find him, she had to tame this beast. After her rebirth, Arlene made Kassadin her first target. Across the entire continent, he was likely the only one, stronger than Demian. There was still a year before the Crown Prince would discover and take him away. She had to find him first. So when her father asked what she wanted for her birthday, she requested a younger brother, which frightened her father into thinking she wanted him to remarry. Imperial law dictated that once war broke out, every family had to send one man to the battlefield. Violating this law could lead to severe consequences, even the loss of their title. This was why her father had died on the battlefield in her past life. As a gladiator slave, Kassadin was currently cornered. If she could make him a member of the family, giving him enough benefits and care, he would surely be willing to take her father's place on the battlefield. Besides, if Demian tried to do anything to her, she could use Kassadin to protect herself. She was determined to get this man and find a way to make him her family. She begged her father to agree to this absurd request, and unexpectedly he agreed right away. But there was one condition: she had to bring the person back for him to see first, to make sure he was trustworthy. After saying goodbye to her father, Arlene eagerly prepared to set out and find her future brother. This was also her first time stepping into a fighting arena. She spent a fortune, demanding an attendant take her to the best seat. After all, money was the one thing she had in abundance. The royal family had monopolized the Celtia family's healing power, giving them immense wealth in return. But in her past life, she had broken her promise to the royals and told Demian the secret, all for a love that was worthless. She wouldn't make that mistake again. As soon as she reached the viewing platform, she heard people talking. Most of them were there to see the silver-haired gladiator. Nearly half the audience was here for him. The crowd roared wildly, urging the deathmatch to begin. Here, they didn't see slaves as human at all. To them, slaves were just toys to be thrown away when they broke. Kassadin, the crown prince's confidant in her past life, the strongest swordsman in the entire empire, but right now he was just a beast trapped in the arena, selling his body. Inside the arena, Kassadin killed everyone who approached him with a blank expression. He wasn't as brawny as the others, but his movements were incredibly fast. Moments later, he was the only one left standing. Kassadin! Everyone was cheering his name, but the celebrations seemed to have nothing to do with him. He turned towards the stands. There was a blonde woman there. Kassadin watched her from afar. the host appeared, bringing the carnival to its climax. He was going to auction off Cassidy's first night, to the highest bidder in the entire arena. A slave as handsome and skilled as him was extremely rare. The arena erupted, and even men were shouting out bids. 100,000 gold coins, 500,000 gold coins, 1 million gold coins. He's mine. Anyone higher? Just then, a slender hand was raised. 5 billion, but not for a night. I want to buy him outright. Are 5 billion gold coins enough? The noisy arena fell instantly silent. Arlen repeated, I asked you, is it enough? The host eagerly fawned. Of course, it's enough. Arlen successfully acquired him, but what she never expected was, while waiting in the lounge, Cassidy started stripping the moment he walked in. The words caught in her throat. What are you doing? Isn't this why you bought me? Master, please let me serve you. Arlen froze, then quickly reached out to stop him. She helped Cassidy button his clothes. No, I didn't buy you for this. If you don't need this, then what do you want from me? I couldn't ignore the plea in your eyes. Arlen needed him to lower his guard, mixing a white lie with the truth. I could feel how desperately you wanted to be saved. How pitiful, your hands are covered in scars. I was going to buy you and set you free, but if I did, you'd probably just be dragged back here to become a toy for the audience's amusement. She used her healing power to mend the wounds on Cassidy's hands. Cassidy looked astonished. She lied, saying it was her family's magic ointment. That could heal wounds. Cassidy demurred that he wasn't worthy of such a precious medicine. No matter how expensive, it can't be more valuable than a person's life. But I have countless lives on my conscience. You did that to survive. I'm sure you didn't do it on purpose. Arlen comforted him as she drew closer. Why did you become a gladiator slave? Where is your family? They've been gone for a long time. I wandered here all alone. Cassidy asked cautiously, May I know who you are? After introducing herself, Arlen asked his age. 18, 2 years younger than her. Her entire purpose today came down to this one sentence. Then, would you be willing to be my younger brother? Cassidy was stunned. He had considered countless possibilities, but never this one. I can free you from your status as a slave. You won't have to live that miserable life anymore. You won't have to kill to survive, and no one will ever look down on you again. So, will you become my family? Cassidy looked completely tamed. As long as it is your command, master, I will obey. Arlen took his hand. You don't have to be so formal with me. After all, we'll be family from now on. Cassidy looked at their clasped hands, and suddenly spoke. Sister, he closed his eyes, calling her name over and over as if he'd just received a priceless treasure. Sister, thank you. You are such a gentle person. Such a submissive expression, yet it made Arlen's hair stand on end. How revolting. Was his adaptability too strong, or was it that fleeting subtle expression? But she was no different, using him to protect her father and herself. My future brother, who will become my sword and shield, please use me too, just as I am using you. She had planned everything perfectly, only to be shut down by her father. He couldn't accept his daughter bringing home a slave to be her brother. He wasn't even qualified to be a guard, let alone a pretty boy. Arlen had no choice but to confess to her father. She was afraid war would break out, forcing him to fight with his poor health. An adopted son could prevent this. Besides, Cassidy's martial skills were exceptional. Knowing his daughter was doing it for him, he was no longer as resistant as before, but he still hadn't accepted it. Arlen gazed at the setting sun. In her past life, she had died at this very moment. She had healed Demian's heart, only for him to pierce hers with a sword. She would absolutely not let Demian die an easy death. Having come this far, she had to make Cassidy her brother. Facing a freshly cleaned Cassidy, she put on a fake smile. Cassidy was a little nervous. Sister, do I look strange? Not at all. It suits you perfectly. Do I really deserve this kind of treatment? Don't say that. Since I brought you here, I will take care of you. I will convince my father, so don't worry. Cassidy gripped her hand tightly. Sister, I will definitely prove my worth. Arlen was surprised by his clear-headedness. Is there anything else you want? He wanted a sword, as he was used to having one by his side. It felt strange to suddenly be without it. I understand. Arlen continued to ask if there was anything else he wanted or liked. Cassidy suddenly lifted her hand. This is enough. I feel like I'm dreaming right now, but I think I've already fallen for you. From the first moment I saw you, I couldn't look away. If this is a dream, I hope I never wake up. Even if you abandon me in the future, I won't resent you. Hearing Cassidy's heartfelt confession, Arlen found it laughable. They had only met a day ago, and this beast was already trying to bewitch her. Arlen even placed this dangerous man in the room next to hers, allowing him to come see her any time. She wasn't just a healer, she also had knowledge of medicinal herbs. Last year, she had cured the emperor's illness, making her family even wealthier. Because of this, rumors spread in aristocratic circles that her family owned a secret mine. Soon after, at the crown prince's birthday banquet, she met Demian, and because of that, the immense wealth her family had accumulated for generations all fell into Demian's hands, and she ultimately met a tragic end. The crown prince's birthday banquet was a month away, Demian owned territory in the north, so she had to prepare to deal with him in advance, and couldn't miss any clues. A knock sounded at the door. Kassadin was outside, saying he had something to tell her. Although it was already past midnight, Arlen decided to hear what he had to say. He came in and closed the door. "I know it's rude to come to you at this hour, but I really can't sleep. You said I could come to you any time, so I shamelessly came." Arlen's tone was gentle. "It's all right. I was just reading." Kassadin glanced at the book. "Is it about northern herbs?" Arlen was surprised he could read, since only nobles were taught. Kassadin explained, "The rarer the commodity, the higher its value. Reading, writing, and noble etiquette. I learned many things to survive. After all, in the Empire, slaves are just products." But Arlen felt something was off. The more a slave knew, the harder they were to control. In the Empire, slaves didn't even have the chance to read, let alone recognize words. And he read far too naturally. But there was no need to press him. He hadn't let his guard down around her yet. So she comforted him softly. "It seems you had a hard life before. I promise you will never have to live like that again." Kassadin, with a smile, made an even more outrageous request. He leaned close to Arlen. "I'm so anxious I can't sleep. If you don't mind, could we sleep together?" He had been testing her since they first met. Was he testing her again now? Well then, she just had to prove he didn't need to do this. "If you want to, then stay. Come here, my brother." It turned out he couldn't sleep because he kept dreaming of the people he had killed. Covered in blood, they would crawl before him and demand, "Why did I have to be the one to die?" "But it's not your fault. But it's a fact that I killed them. You at least feel guilt for the dead, don't you? Besides, you did it to protect yourself." "This is the first time in my life anyone has ever said that to me. What kind of life have you lived until now?" Kassadin fell silent, only answering after a moment. "A very ordinary one. You probably wouldn't be interested." Arlen didn't press further. "I hope you won't dwell on the past, and I hope you won't bear this pain alone, because you will be happy every day from now on." Kassadin grabbed her. "In the arena, you were the only one shining. Seeing you up close, you're even more dazzling." "Sister, thank you for bringing me back." The hypocritical siblings, one feigning sleep, the other staring at the one feigning sleep. Arlen opened her eyes slightly. As expected, Kassadin was staring at her. He suddenly brushed her hair aside, sending a chill down her spine. Kassadin leaned in and whispered in her ear, "Sister, sweet dreams." After that, he left quietly. So he was a liar too, just like she wore the mask of a gentle sister. After all, he had been through many terrible things. Other than knowing he was the crown prince's confidant in her past life, she knew nothing about him. She could only try to win him over slowly. Just as she had gotten him, she would give Kassadin everything he wanted. Unexpectedly, the next day, she saw her blood-soaked brother, kneeling before her father. Her father had given him several tests. If he passed, he would be accepted as family. Picking a monster-guarded herb from a cliff, any one of them was a life-threatening task. Arlen asked if Kassadin was hurt. "I'm fine, sister. This is just monster's blood," she protested to her father. "Kassadin is skilled enough to pass any test. This isn't necessary. Dad, I'm the one who brought him here. If you won't agree because of his status as a slave, then disown me from the family as well." They never imagined Arlen would go this far. Even if it seemed unreasonable, she had no choice. She couldn't waste any more time on the adoption issue. But her father thought she was obsessed with the slave. "Dad, you like drinking herbal tea. Most of the slaves who grew those herbs were once nobles from other countries. Because their nations were destroyed overnight, they lost their titles and property and became slaves. A title is such an ephemeral thing, like a midsummer night's dream or frost in winter. It's fleeting. Kassadin is a person just like us. I hope you'll agree to adopt him." In the end, the father couldn't win against his daughter and had to agree. Arlen hugged her father, apologizing for her earlier words. Kassadin finally became her brother, though her father still looked at him with disdain. Late at night, Kassadin was bathing, his back covered in horrific scars. In his mind right now were only Arlen's words from that day. To think she would even threaten her own father to adopt him. "Sister," he murmured. "Sister, what a strange woman. Sister is so strange." She was clearly awake but pretended to be asleep, because he wanted to see her get angry. He deliberately came to her at night, but she didn't care. In comparison, he felt like a mischievous child. But to him, it didn't matter what his sister was like. He had only one goal: to use everything and everyone around him. The next day, Arlen went to a weapon shop. She had promised to give her brother a sword. The owner was very enthusiastic. "You have excellent taste. This sword was used by the prince of the fallen Highland kingdom." Arlen was skeptical. If it was so precious, why was it gathering dust here? When he quoted the price, she understood why the sword hadn't sold. But money was the one thing she had in abundance. After dinner, she went to find her brother. She waited a long time before he appeared. "Sister, sorry, I was in the bathroom. I didn't hear you knock. What is this?" "Open it and see." Kassadin froze for a moment. "Where did you find this sword?" "Just a nearby shop. I saw it and thought it would suit you. It just doesn't have a scabbard." "It should have a scabbard." Arlen found that odd. "How do you know?" Because daggers like this usually come with a scabbard, especially one this fine. The shopkeeper said it was lost a long time ago. It was supposedly used by a prince. Kassadin lowered his eyes. I see. Should I have a scabbard made for you? It's a gift from you. It's better to keep it as it is. Arlen smiled. Welcome once again to our family. Thank you, sister. Meeting you is the greatest fortune of my life. If it weren't for you, I'd still be living that inhuman life in the arena. That day, you were like an angel descended from heaven. I only had eyes for you. Arlen didn't hug him back. I'm happy we're family now, but siblings don't hug like this. Is that so? I haven't felt warmth in so long I couldn't control myself for a moment. It was my mistake. Arlen scoffed inwardly. A mistake? How ridiculous. Just how foolish do I look to you? Fine, go ahead and think I'm both gentle and stupid. Then let your guard down, and let me slowly stain you like watercolor spreading in water. Late at night, Kassadin couldn't help but ask, why would you risk being disowned to make me part of your family? Because I promised you. You said that even if I abandoned you, you wouldn't resent me. But I will not abandon you. Was it just for that promise? That was part of it. When you said you hoped I wouldn't abandon you, it looked as though you were about to cry. So I decided I had to make you happy. Kassadin reached out to her. Sister, I'm truly happy right now. She could feel Kassadin's gaze fixed on her face. But this time, she chose to fall asleep. That was the only way to make him lower his guard. That night, she dreamed of Demian. His ugly face woke her from the nightmare. What bad luck. Kassadin was gone. She noticed a book was missing from the shelf. Just then, a young maid came to report that there was progress on the matter she had been asked to investigate. Kassadin was perhaps never a slave to begin with, because they were so rare. Kassadin had never seen a blue rose before. I heard its flower language is miracle. It's so beautiful I can't look away, just like you. Arlen just smiled. No matter how beautiful, it will eventually wither. From that moment on for the gardener, it just becomes a nuisance. Don't you think? That's not what I meant. I know. I just wanted to tell you that for some people, being compared to a flower can be an offense. Thank you, I will keep that in mind. Also, I've been missing a book recently. What? Seeing Kassadin play dumb, she said it plainly. Maybe someone stole it? But it's not a very important book. It was the one you saw last time, about northern plants. If you'd like, I can help you look for it. So full of lies. The only one who could have taken the book while she was asleep is him. From their very first meeting, Kassadin had worn a mask around her. The whispers in her room, the brilliant smiles, and the words he spoke after seeing the blue rose. It was all fake. She didn't understand why such a dangerous man was loyal only to the crown prince in her past life. The information the maid had gathered, when he was first picked up by slave traders, they thought he was the young master of some noble house. Besides his expensive clothes, his speech and demeanor were not things that could be easily learned, unless he was of high birth to begin with. A few weeks later, her father officially adopted Kassadin, although he repeatedly warned not to let anyone know of his past. No one even recognized him as a former slave. She suddenly grew curious about what his parents were like. My father was gentle, and my mother was stronger than anyone. They were very good people. Do you have any siblings? I'm an only child. He suddenly changed the subject. I'm very happy to be out with you. Me too. Is there anything else you want? More than any of those things. I'd rather just stay with you like this forever. All right, here you went again. Arlen remembered the important matter. The crown prince's birthday banquet is in 1 week, but father has to inspect the territory this time. So I will attend in his place. Kassadin suddenly wrapped his arm around her waist. Sister, take me with you. Since it's at the palace, many people will be there. I'm worried someone might steal you away. Arlen pushed him away. I was just about to ask you to come, and don't worry, no one is going to steal me away. Sister, you have no idea how charming you are. Arlen's voice was no longer gentle. Kassadin, as long as you stop trying to test me, I will give you anything you want. Sister, how could I be testing you? I only act this way because I like you so much. Is that so? Then why did you steal the book? I know that the book that disappeared 3 weeks ago was stolen by you and then put back on the shelf. Kassadin, his lie exposed to his face, didn't panic and instead smiled. His lie exposed, Kassadin remained unfazed. I never stole your book. You're the only one who has been in my room at night. I thought you might have had a reason. What's important isn't that you stole my book, but the fact that you lied to me. Since you knew all along, why didn't you scold me? Because you are my precious family. Kassadin suddenly grabbed her, and they both froze. But Kassadin's smile returned in an instant. You are like a light that saved me. I will never lie to you again. Arlen was still the gentle sister. Don't do it again. He stepped forward. I just wanted to know what books you read. If I had known, I would have just told you. So, is there something you want now? I do have something I want. He was still stubborn and full of lies. And that is you. Arlene was going crazy. She shouldn't have expected a normal answer. After that, Kassadin didn't come by late at night for a while. News arrived that Demian had won the sword fighting tournament. Truly a monster, to win with a body like that. Probably no one even knows he has a heart condition. A knock on the door. Sister, it's me. You haven't been coming by recently. Were you waiting for me? Arlen didn't deny it. I'm so happy you were waiting for me. You said before you had insomnia. Is it better now? Thanks to you, I've adjusted. But I still like being with you. But don't you go back in the middle of the night? That's because I don't want to cause you trouble if people see. If you really didn't want to cause me trouble, you shouldn't come to my room at night. But I don't just want to see you during the day, I also like the you at night. Your lake blue eyes are also enchanting under the moonlight. Anyone can say sweet things. I'm also curious. When your violet eyes stare into the void, what are you thinking about? Cassadine reached out his hand to her. My mind is filled with you. Arlen didn't reply, asking instead. A few days ago, someone saw you go out late at night. What were you doing outside? I was just out for a walk. A blatant lie. He didn't come back until just before dawn. After a night like that, the day of the Crown Prince's birthday arrived. It was also the day she first met Demian. Unlike before, this time she wasn't alone. From the moment they got in the carriage, Cassadine had been clinging to her. Not only were they squeezed together, but he refused to let go of her hand. Arlen told him to let go, but Cassadine only leaned against her more insistently. I want to stay like this. I wish time would stop. After we get to the palace and other people see you, I know I'll definitely be unhappy. Cassadine, your jokes are going too far. I want to know why you're always lying to me. But you certainly won't answer me easily. I will wait for the day you open your heart to me. It seems you don't believe my words. Did you know, Cassadine? Whenever you lie, your right eyelashes tremble slightly. You're actually not very good at lying. Before they could finish their conversation, the carriage had arrived at the palace. Just as she thought, the moment Cassadine stepped out of the carriage, he captured everyone's attention. Arlen entered the banquet hall with her brother. The first step of her revenge had begun. The noble lady who was her enemy in her past life actually came forward to greet her. The family of Count Noli, who got rich from diamonds. Hundreds of slaves had died in their mines alone. After her greeting, her eyes drifted to the side. And who might this be? Hello, I am Cassadine. My goodness, even your voice is so pleasant. Arlen introduced him with a smile. He is my younger brother. The nearby young ladies were also drawn over, like a pack of wolves that had spotted prey. I remember you're an only child. Have you been avoiding society all this time? Just to keep such a handsome brother to yourself? How did she even reach that conclusion? Cassadine was surrounded. May I ask a rather rude question? Do you have a lover? Before Cassadine could answer, others were eagerly making invitations. Although I don't have a lover, I already have someone in my heart. Who is she? On the day we first met, she wore a sky blue dress that revealed her collarbones, and a diamond necklace. At that moment, I couldn't tear my eyes away from her. My heart belonged completely to her, with no room for anyone else. That was what she wore when she bought him at the arena. What was this madman trying to do? Her name is... Just then, the arrival of the Crown Prince was announced, and Arlen breathed a sigh of relief. Leon Claysburg. Originally, Cassadine was supposed to become his confidant. But to her, Cassadine was the best choice to protect her family. So she also felt a sense of guilt towards him. After the Crown Prince finished his toast, he raised his glass and declared the banquet had begun. Arlen glanced at her brother out of habit, only to find he hadn't drunk his wine. Cassadine wore a wicked smile. What was going on? Before she could think, the sound of a glass shattering was heard. The Crown Prince began to vomit large amounts of blood. Someone had poisoned his cup. The scene descended into chaos. None of this had happened in her past life. Originally, the banquet was supposed to last until evening, when Demian would arrive. The only variable between her past life and now was the slave brother she had bought. Cassadine covered his mouth with his hand, but from her angle she could see it perfectly. The upturned corner of his lips horrified her. Why would he do this? In her past life, he was more loyal to the Crown Prince than anyone. I have no family. They've been gone a long time. It should have a scabbard. The memories flooded back. If he was the prince of the fallen Highland Kingdom, then the poisoning could be explained. In her past life as the Crown Prince's confidant, he served him for 3 years. Why didn't he act then all this time? How did he manage to suppress his hatred? Arlen reached out and touched him. So it was you, the Prince of Highland. Cassadine's pupils contracted instantly. What did you just say to me? Exposed by her for murder at a banquet, Cassadine's hands were trembling, but there wasn't a trace of fear in his eyes, only rage directed at her. It seemed she had taken in a fierce beast. She patted Cassadine's arm reassuringly. It's all right, Cassadine. Just don't do this again in the future. I'm saying this for your own good, and I will protect you. Just then, the Emperor summoned her for an audience. After a simple greeting, the Emperor told her to begin treatment immediately. She rolled up the Crown Prince's sleeve and began to examine his body. The poison had already seeped through his entire body. It was fast-acting, colorless, and odorless. Almost instantly, she identified the poison, butterfly grass, a poisonous herb that only grows in the north. The book Cassadine had stolen happened to describe how to extract this poison and how to mix it with jadeite to remove its scent. This was a deadly poison. Any later, and even if he were saved, he would be crippled for life. Pardon my intrusion. She quickly unfastened the Crown Prince's clothes and began the treatment. As the light of her healing power glowed, the poison receded bit by bit. The crown prince's complexion gradually returned to normal, and his breathing stabilized. "He's fine now, Your Majesty." The emperor thanked her emotionally, adding he would grant her one exceptional request, but Arlene said it was merely her duty. Now that his son was saved, the next step was to find the culprit. Arlene was glad she was a healer, as it allowed her to easily clear her brother's name. "I have identified the poison in His Highness's body, but I don't know if I should tell you." "It's fine, just say it." "It's the deadly butterfly grass, which only grows in the north." The emperor's younger brother was once the ruler of the north. After his death, he left behind a son, who was her enemy from her past life, Demian. All she needed to do was plant a seed of doubt in the emperor's mind. Although Demian's father didn't care for the throne, Demian was different. He was ambitious. Even if a later investigation could clear his name, the emperor, doting on his beloved son, would surely suppress him. What to do? Her brother was just too adorable. Just as Arlene was about to leave, the emperor stopped her. "Until my son has fully recovered, could you stay by his side?" The emperor needed to return to the banquet to appease the nobles, and naturally, Arlene wouldn't refuse. Before leaving, the emperor thanked her once more. Does the emperor really trust me this much? He couldn't seriously be considering her as a candidate for crown princess, could he? Rumors like that had circulated a few years ago. The person on the bed suddenly stirred. "Your Highness, are you awake?" No response. Was he talking in his sleep? She suddenly realized the crown prince's clothes were still in disarray, and Dicey did to help button them back up. But the crown prince chose that exact moment to wake up. "Who are you? Why are you in here? How dare you touch my body?" "I am the healer, Arlene. I just treated the poison in your body." "You treated me? Did His Majesty not tell you?" "Now that you mention it, I remember. The Circias are the only family of healers, and the current healer is said to be the most outstanding in generations. Her name is indeed the same as yours. May I witness this incredible ability of yours?" Arlene instantly refused. "No, Your Highness's body is already healed, and no one else here is injured." With that, she tried to take her leave. The crown prince suddenly clutched his chest. Could there be residual poison? She was sure she had completely cleansed it. After a careful check, she confirmed there was nothing wrong. "I don't detect any abnormalities. Your body is perfectly healthy now." Forget residual poison. He was now healthy enough to go to a battlefield. Another one with an unnaturally fast recovery rate. "It seems you really are a healer." Arlene was speechless. He was a year older than her. Did being spoiled in the palace create this kind of personality? She just wanted to leave quickly, but was grabbed by the arm. "Wait, I feel uneasy. Can you stay with me a little longer? I will call for someone else." How fascinating. Other young ladies try every trick to get close to me, yet you're so eager to leave. This narcissist. In their past life, they hadn't exchanged a single word. She had no idea this was his personality. She just said something to placate him. Well, people have different personalities. The ladies you've met may be like that, but that doesn't mean everyone is the same. The crown prince held on to her. "Then, I want to ask you something. What kind of person am I in your eyes?" "In my eyes, you are the crown prince." The crown prince burst out laughing before her, making her want to roll her eyes to the heavens. What a ridiculous question. The crown prince laughed until tears streamed down his face. "Your name is Arlene, right? From now on, you'll be the one to heal me when I'm injured. You can go now. Goodbye, Arlene." Could she just punch him? And goodbye? She had no desire to see him again. The healing had only caused a short delay, but the grand hall was already empty. Thankfully, Cassadine was fine. As she passed through the garden, she saw her brother standing in the moonlight, turning to smile at her. "Sister." He had returned to his usual obedient demeanor. She wondered who it was that had glared at her like that just moments ago. When she shifted her gaze to the other person, her blood ran cold. The man walked towards her, every step feeling like it was stomping on her heart, filling her with both pain and disgust. Memories of her past life resurfaced once more. She had died by his sword. His voice, both gentle and hypocritical, tore at her heart. "A pleasure to meet you for the first time. I am Demian Deus." Seeing her enemy again, the overwhelming hatred mixed with revulsion caused Arlene's usually calm expression to falter. "Are you all right? You look quite pale." She forced herself to calm down. After all, for this very encounter, she had practiced countless times. "I'm fine. Thank you for your concern. My name is Arlene Circia. What were you just discussing with my brother?" Demian's gaze shifted between the two of them. Though they were siblings, they looked nothing alike. She knew what he was thinking at a glance. It turned out they were talking because the banquet was cancelled, and Demian was asking Cassadine what had happened. To think someone would dare to poison the crown prince. "It's truly heartbreaking," he said the words, but his expression held no trace of sorrow. After all, this was a man who dared to covet the throne itself. Arlene played along. "I think so too, Your Grace, the Duke." "How did you know I am a Duke?" "The Deus family is known by everyone in the Empire. Besides, your exploits alone have been in the papers countless times. I heard you won the championship at the swordsmanship tournament," Demian said humbly. "That was just a stroke of luck. Who would have thought that in her past life, 2 years later, this formidable man would be defeated by Kassadin in his very first tournament? The indignant look on his face then was still vivid in her memory. Demian's lofty pride had been trampled like garbage by Kassadin. The more Arlen despised him in her heart, the more brightly she smiled. "But it's so late, why are you still here?" Arlen was surprised by his sharpness. But in the next moment, her expression changed instantly. Demian was seized by soldiers. Arlen's eyes widened, watching the good show unfold. Demian furiously demanded, "What are you doing?" "By His Majesty's order, you need to come with us." She acted as if she were startled. "Oh my, what is happening?" But the upturned corners of her lips and her slightly narrowed eyes revealed nothing but her extreme joy at that moment, just like the look on her brother's face when he saw the crown prince collapse. Once Demian was taken away, it was her beast's turn. "Kassadin, I think you have a lot you want to say to me." Inside the carriage, the man who had clung to her on the way here was now avoiding her gaze. "You never tell me anything." Kassadin finally looked at her. "I'm not trying to blame you, Kassadin." She caressed her brother's cheek. His cracked mask finally fell away, unable to hide even his trembling gaze. If his act of poisoning the crown prince had been exposed today, not only him, but her entire family would have been executed. So she couldn't let him continue like this. "Kassadin, whether you are the prince of the Highland Kingdom or a slave, if there is something you truly desire, you must first preserve your own life." Kassadin dropped his pretense, violently grabbing Arlen's wrist and pinning her firmly beneath him. "If I get rid of you right here, no one else in this world will ever know my identity." What last words? "Do you want to leave with those delicate lips of yours? Tell me how you know." Poor Kassadin. "So you've been deceiving yourself all this time." This enraged Kassadin even more. "Do you have any idea what situation you're in? How dare you say such things? How foolish! You don't even know who your real enemy is, and you're busy harming innocent people." 8 years ago, the man who led the subjugation of the Highland Kingdom was Damian's biological father, and the reason he destroyed the Highland Kingdom was merely because of a prophecy. It was from the late great prophet Tyrs, who said, "A conqueror who can unite the continent will be born in the Highland Kingdom, and will trample the empire and other nations underfoot." This was something she discovered by chance while gathering information, so there was no way Kassadin could have known. But she hadn't finished her investigation, so she couldn't tell him everything yet. "Are you trying to deceive me again?" Arlen smiled. "I never thought someone who spouts lies would say that to me. Every moment I've spent with you was filled with sincerity. Yet you don't believe me. Do you regret taking me in?" "No, I have never regretted it." Kassadin's hand gripping hers was trembling. He probably wished she would regret it. But she would never give him that answer. She embraced him. "No matter what, you are my family. It's okay, Kassadin." Her voice was so gentle it felt foreign even to herself. How laughable. She was clearly using this person. It seemed tonight was destined to be a sad night. Back at the manor, she ordered the young maid to prepare hot water, and also to help her find books and information about the Highland Kingdom. "Should I give you some more jewels?" No, you gave me a whole jewelry box last time. I'll go prepare the bathwater." The young maid fled in a fluster. She was really cute. She turned her head towards the next room and knocked on the door. With almost no weight, Kassadin opened the door. "Let's talk for a while before bed." Neither of them spoke. She quietly brewed tea. Although tea leaves may float and sink in the water at first, they will eventually settle down, and the water's surface will become calm again. That seemingly endless pain and everything that feels unbearable will also come to an end one day. Seeing Kassadin begin to waver again, Arlen mocked herself inwardly. She was speaking comforting words to Kassadin, yet she herself was trapped in the nightmare of the past named Demian. She had no right to say these things. Taking in Kassadin and fulfilling his wishes was only to use him. She knew it was shameless, but she had to keep up the act. As long as he could destroy Demian and take his father's place on the battlefield, she would do anything. She rose and walked towards Kassadin. "You don't need to feel uneasy. Even if you lie to me as you usually do, I won't say anything. Regardless of the past, you are my family. You can use me as much as you want. If there is something you want, I will satisfy you, even if it means my hands are stained with blood." Arlen's bottomless acceptance finally made Kassadin erupt. He roared, "What in the world are you doing this for? If you cursed me for being ungrateful and treacherous, I could understand. But why don't you blame me? No one can guarantee I won't do something like that again. If you wanted to harm me, you would have done it already. It's normal for a human who became a beast to survive to be averse to opening up to others." But the affection she had poured into Kassadin had not been in vain. He had already been assimilated by her. Besides fighting to the death in the dueling pits, slaves were often used as tools to satisfy the various perverse desires of the powerful. That's why his body was covered in scars, with only his face left unscathed. It didn't matter how much he was injured or bled. In the past, he desperately hid his identity. So focused on surviving, he didn't even have the leisure to despair. But last night, facing Arlen, he had hesitated, as if someone had viciously gripped his heart. Arlen sometimes had an expression he couldn't see through, not one of sorrow or deep in thought, but as if she didn't care about anything at all. There were many things he couldn't understand. Why was she so accepting of him? Whenever his pain became unbearable, why could he feel a sense of peace from that woman? Along with suspicion and a baseless sense of defeat, he put on his sleepwear, walked to the mirror, and practiced his smile just like before. Sister, he put his mask back on, and knocked on Arlen's door once more. Sister, I want to know more about you, and I want to apologize and hear your voice. Since just a moment ago, my body has been feeling hot. The naive Arlen thought he was sick. Are you feeling unwell somewhere? He pulled her hand and pressed it against his bare chest. It's getting hotter here. Sister, why is my body acting like this? You are so beautiful. I feel this way every time I see you. Your hands are so soft too. Arlen suddenly tore open his sleepwear. The man gave a sarcastic smile. See, everyone is the same. The next moment, his thoughts were utterly shattered. Is this a burn? No wonder I felt a large scar. This one is from a sword and an axe, and this is the mark from a branding iron. Even if you were a duelist, you couldn't possibly have so many burns. Were you severely tortured? Kassadin's mind was in chaos. He responded on instinct, yes. Arlen didn't press further, simply pulling him down to sit, and covered his eyes. A healing light began to spread from her palms. As time passed, she released her hand. It had been a long time since Kassadin's body felt so light. The ugly scars were gone too. Did I scare you? I applied that medicine I mentioned before. I can't believe I didn't notice this earlier. It must have been very painful. I'm sorry for making you endure it until now, my dear brother. Just let go of your worries and rest peacefully. Late at night, after Arlen had fallen asleep, Kassadin got up and sat by her bed, gazing at her for a long time. He had failed again. It turned out he was the one who had fallen into the trap. And on the second day, Arlen was met with big trouble. The crown prince had actually come to her door, even for the sake of revenge. Kassadin from her past life must have had extraordinary endurance to last so many years under that bastard. The young maid mentioned the recent rumors as she combed Arlen's hair. I heard that Duke Demian, who tried to assassinate the crown prince, is still locked in prison. But since there's no solid evidence, he should be released soon, right? Indeed, based on last night's situation alone, it would be difficult to hold him for long. And from what she knew of Demian, even if he had committed the crime, he was the type to find a way out. After his release, he would definitely try to find the real culprit. If he learned the truth, he would use it as leverage to try and win over Kassadin. In that case, she might as well work through the crown prince and meet Demian beforehand. Help me dress as lavishly as possible. When she was dressed and ready to leave, she saw Kassadin leaning against the wall outside her door, looking as though he was waiting for her. Sister, where are you going in such a hurry? To meet a guest? May I accompany you? That doesn't seem appropriate. Why? Arlen thought to herself. You nearly poisoned him just yesterday. Seeing her silence, Kassadin sneered. It seems this is a very important guest. The beast whose tricks had failed couldn't even be bothered to hide its true nature anymore. Arlen smiled brightly. Very important. The fact that Kassadin was no longer putting on an act, for some reason, made her very happy. Just as she entered the reception room, the crown prince greeted her warmly. My apologies for being late, Your Highness. No need to be so formal with me. You must be curious why I came to see you so early in the morning, right? I'll get straight to the point. What are your thoughts on becoming the crown princess? Arlen was stunned. What was he talking about? His Majesty the Emperor has also agreed. Because you saved my life. I heard a rumor has been circulating that your family has amassed a huge fortune from mining. A healer family that should be under royal protection, suffering from such rumors. So His Majesty feels very guilty. Before he could finish, Arlen rejected him. Your Highness, this is too sudden. Besides, I am very satisfied with my current life. Are you going to refuse the chance to become the most noble person in the Empire? I'm sorry. I appreciate the kind intentions of you and His Majesty. Truly unexpected. My lady, you really are an interesting person. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door, and Kassadin burst in. Pardon the interruption. But his face showed no hint of apology, and he deliberately slammed the plate onto the table. I thought you might be hungry, so I prepared some refreshments. Good heavens, did he snatch this from a maid? The crown prince ordered him out, but Kassadin completely ignored him. I said get out. Arlen was going crazy. She had no choice but to smooth things over. This is my brother Kassadin. I hope you can forgive his rudeness, but you two look nothing alike. You have platinum blonde hair while he has silver hair, and your eye colors are different too. The seemingly crazy crown prince was surprisingly sharp. It seems you're not related by blood. Although we are not related by blood, he is my only brother. With such a handsome brother, no wonder your standards are so high. My brother is indeed handsome. He was amused by Arlen. Then please ask the handsome brother to step out for a moment. We are discussing important matters. Am I not allowed to listen? Since you want to listen, I'll tell you. Your sister is going to become the crown princess. Arlen cut him off urgently. Kassadin was silent, but his face was filled with uncontrollable killing intent. If you wish to refuse, come to the palace and say so in person. Tomorrow at noon, in front of the palace fountain. You must come alone. After the crown prince left, Kassadin did not leave. Sister, is what that guy said true? He wasn't even hiding his expression now. I suppose so. Are you planning to go to the palace alone tomorrow? Hearing that Arlene planned to go, he started coming up with all sorts of reasons to persuade her not to. He even made up the excuse that the crown prince has an unlucky face. Heaven knows how hard she tried to hold back her laughter. You can read faces? You can tell just by looking at the eyes. He's obviously a person of terrible character. Good grief. Did he have any right to talk about someone else's character? But there was one point she agreed with. When I first met the crown prince, I didn't like him much either. The two siblings went back and forth, happily bad-mouthing someone else. Cassadine suddenly asked her, "Then what was your first impression of me?" Arlene thought back. "I thought you were a lot like me, more than his outstanding looks." What truly drew her in were his eyes, which were full of stories, carrying a shimmering sorrow and a bleak, desolate emptiness. But when she asked for his impression of her, Cassadine was unwilling to say, "It's a secret." She shouldn't have expected anything from this liar. "Then in your eyes, am I a good person or a bad person?" "I'm not so sure, can't you tell by looking at my eyes?" She grabbed Cassadine's sleeve, pressing for an answer. But he violently shook her off. "Sorry, sister, I didn't mean to." Arlene's unbothered appearance made Cassadine curious. "You don't hate me? Why would I hate you? To be honest, more than a good or bad person, you're more like a strange person." Arlene was a bit dazed, but he was finally starting to tell her the truth. She couldn't control her joy. Cassadine's face flushed red as he looked away. He could actually get shy. "Why is your face so red? Are you still running a fever?" If she really had a brother related by blood, would it feel like this? In the study, only the content about the Highland Kingdom had been torn out. Compared to Cassadine, she should be focusing on Demian now, to uncover his crimes and make him fall into the abyss. But Demian wasn't a fool. It would be better for her to play the fool to get close to him. Arlene seemed to understand Cassadine's feelings now. She could never forget the pain and death of that day. On the second day, Arlene went to the appointment alone. She lifted her skirt and curtsied elegantly. Greetings to the rising sun of the empire. She had refused the crown prince 800 times, yet he still insisted on marrying her. But her heart was set only on revenge. "But you don't love me at all. I am a healer, not your toy." Smart and perceptive, this made the crown prince even more satisfied with her. "Does marriage require love? As long as our interests align, that's enough. Marry me and you can obtain supreme power. While the royal family can control the power of healing forever?" She had no interest in that. "I'm very satisfied with my current life. However, if you would permit it, we could make a deal. Tell me the details. Wasn't it Duke Demian who poisoned you? I heard he's now being held in the royal prison. Can you let me see him? If you allow it, I can demonstrate my healing ability to you." "Didn't you say you couldn't demonstrate it unless someone was injured?" Arlene's healing power wasn't limited to humans. It could work on animals, and even plants. In just an instant, the flower crushed by the crown prince was restored to its original state. "This is unbelievable! Are you a magician? How on earth did you do that?" "I am merely a healer." The flower she had just restored was plucked by him in the blink of an eye. She was truly speechless. The crown prince even justified himself. "Rather than leaving it here to possibly be stepped on again, it's better to pick it and put it in a vase in my room." Did it make any difference to the flower? "But why do you want to see the Duke?" She had already guessed he would ask this. Say it was love at first sight? Confessing in a prison seemed strange. To see the face of the Empire's hero before she dies, that was even weirder, especially saying it to someone who had just proposed to her. "Why aren't you answering?" He began to press. "Are you certain that the Duke is the real culprit?" "No. He already holds the title of Duke. Why would he commit such an act? Besides, there's no evidence at the moment. It's more likely the work of someone who despises the royal family." Arlene went along with his words and started making up an excuse. "The Duke was identified as the culprit. Because I recognize that the poisonous herb used to harm you only grows in his territory, so he was arrested because of me. I feel bad for him and want to visit him." "How is that your fault? You were just telling the truth." "But sometimes the truth can also hurt people." The crown prince extended his hand to her. "I understand what you mean. I will take you there myself." The plan was a success. However, she had been feeling strange since a moment ago. Why was that knight still wearing his helmet on such a hot day? Inside the prison tower, the crown prince escorted her to see Demian. He suddenly stopped and looked at the knight behind them. "Hey, why have you been following us this whole time? Do you know why I asked you to come to the palace alone?" "Because there's something not right about your brother's eyes," Arlene thought. "That's because he sees you as an enemy. My brother is just a little shy. I'm not talking about the way he looks at me, but the way he looks at you. That is definitely not the way one looks at a sister. Your Highness, to me, he is a very important family member. If you say things like this, it puts me in a very awkward position. It seems you dote on your brother very much. After all, he is the most important person to me in this world." Arlene didn't want to argue further, so she made an excuse to send the crown prince away. As the victim and suspect, it wasn't appropriate for him to see Demian. The crown prince ordered the knight to protect her, just as they entered the prison. He thought the knight was sent by the emperor to watch him, and wore a look of disgust. "What is your name?" Arlene quickly interrupted him. I'll just talk for a moment and leave right away. You don't need to worry. The Crown Prince invited her again. My birthday banquet will be held again. This time, you have no room to refuse. Until then, I will take good care of the flower you gave me. After the Crown Prince left, Arlen glanced to the side. Kassadin, what are you doing here? You knew it was me? How could I not recognize you? Where did you steal this set of armor? I didn't steal it, I borrowed it. Its owner will be unconscious for the whole day, so you don't need to worry. You're truly audacious. What if you get caught? I'm confident I won't be discovered. I have all the information on the knights. Arlen wanted to say more, but Kassadin suddenly moved closer. Are you worried about me? The puppy's eyes were shining with expectation. How could Arlen not satisfy him? From the moment I open my eyes in the morning until I fall asleep at night, I am always worried about you. Such sweet words. You're actually worried about me? Aren't you here at the palace because you were worried about me too? Yes. If I wasn't worried about you, I wouldn't have done something so foolish. Who did you come here to see exactly? You'll know when we get there. They arrived at the 8th floor of the prison. The man was quietly reading a book. He was the enemy Arlen hated to the bone, the Duke of the North, Demian. His emerald eyes had once deeply fascinated her. It was a pity she was deceived by that glamorous facade and failed to see the ugly nature within. She took the initiative to greet him. Do you remember me? Aren't you Arlen Serkia? I can remember anyone I've met even once. And I believe I have met this knight as well. He was terrifyingly sharp. But Arlen wasn't worried. He is the royal knight who brought me here. Then it seems I was mistaken. So, what brings you to the prison? Demian never expected that. This woman would be bold enough to confess her feelings to him in a prison. And Arlen's actions completely infuriated Kassadin. But to make her enemy believe her, she had to shamelessly continue the act. I risked coming to this prison to save you, yet you dismiss my feelings like this. If I had known, I wouldn't have come at all. Demian frowned. Are you really in love with me at first sight? Of course, otherwise what kind of mad woman would come to a prison? Before I met you, I never believed in love at first sight. Your eyes like stars, your sharp jawline, and your deep husky voice, they all mesmerize me. She had thrown all her shame to the wind. For you, I went through great trouble to persuade the Crown Prince to let me come here. Hearing that she was familiar with the Crown Prince, Demian's interest was piqued. Are you very familiar with the Crown Prince? Of course. Arlen pointed to Kassadin. This royal knight was personally assigned by him. You can ask him if you don't believe me. In her past life, their relationship wasn't good. Although Demian deliberately tried to get close to the Crown Prince, the latter would stand him up every time. Therefore, becoming the Crown Princess would place too many restrictions on her revenge. Arlen continued to entice him. If you just tell me why you were late to the banquet, I can report it to His Highness and help clear your name. Demian suddenly moved away from the bars. How about this? If you can explain your identity and your relationship with the Crown Prince in detail, I will tell you what I was doing that day. Because I would also like to know more about you. He was talking nonsense, unwilling to be at a disadvantage in the slightest. You want me to discuss the Crown Prince's private affairs in front of a royal knight? It seems you don't trust me at all. I feel like a fool for having feelings for you. I came here to help you, but all you can think about is how to scheme against me. Seeing she was about to leave, Demian grew anxious. I promised to tell you. If you leave disappointed, it will make me feel guilty. Actually, I had prepared a gift for His Highness, but it was too much trouble. Just bringing it back took a great deal of effort. What kind of gift was it? A slave. Because his physical abilities are outstanding, I wanted to present him to the Crown Prince. Seeing Arlen frown, he quickly explained, My lady, slaves with outstanding physical abilities are very rare. Just last month, someone spent 5 billion gold to buy a slave. Arlen couldn't understand. Although slavery was legal in the Empire, how could he present a slave at a birthday banquet? But if this was an excuse to hide his true purpose, she needed to confirm it. Your Grace, in that case, allow me to present the slave to the Crown Prince on your behalf. To win Demian's trust. She told Demian that the poisonous herb that poisoned the Crown Prince only grew in his territory, which was why he was arrested. Demian lowered his guard and agreed, but requested that they meet again after his release. Oh my, are you asking me out on a date? He had finally fallen into her trap. Not long after she returned home, Kassadin also came back, but he looked terrible. Arlen asked with concern, Did something happen? Kassadin denied it. No, then why do you look so pale? He was silent for a moment, then asked, Sister, do you like green eyes? What? Is it because I don't have green eyes that you don't like me? In her past life, she'd been desperately in love with Demian's green eyes. But after being reborn, she only wished she could gouge them out with her own hands. So when Kassadin asked her if she disliked him because he didn't have green eyes, Arlen firmly denied it. Then why did you say those things in front of me? Seeing that Arlen didn't understand, he began to repeat the words she had said to Demian in the prison. Long, smooth, jet black hair, eyes like stars, a sharp jawline, and a deep, husky voice. He could recite it word for word. No, my brother, the person I like the most is you. Don't ever say again that I would hate you. No matter what you are like, you are the person I love most in this world. The words that usually worked like a charm only infuriated Kassadin this time. Just how many people have you deceived this way? Arlene was momentarily stunned into silence. She never thought he would resort to violence. Sister, I'm asking you a question. For you, what number am I? She turned her head. You are the first. Sister, don't avoid my gaze. You must look me in the eye and answer me. Arlene was being choked so tightly she could barely breathe, and her voice trembled. Kassadin, why are you doing this? My dear sister, I never thought you could make such an expression. He was truly a madman. Arlene pushed him away forcefully and stumbled backward. Anyone who saw this would think I've done something terrible, but I haven't even started anything yet. She regained her composure. Since my only brother wants to do this, there's no reason why not. If you think it will calm you down, you can do this anytime. However, will this really calm you down? The person I know you to be isn't like this. You'd better not provoke me any further. She knew clearly that Kassadin was only baring his fangs because he couldn't bring himself to trust others. She gently cupped his face. I will always be on your side, but I hate you. Even if you hate me, or even use me, it doesn't matter. I just hope you stop tormenting yourself. Kassadin stopped talking, just watching her in silence, then turned and left. Arlene didn't completely disagree with his words. After all, she had indeed made him her family in order to use him. But in the end, he had deceived her too, hadn't he? This kingdom's prince had far too many unspeakable stories. Since he was unwilling to talk, she would investigate on her own. The next day, Arlene followed the young maid deep into the mountains. This was information the young maid had previously bought from an informant about someone who might know the secrets of the Highland Kingdom. From an inconspicuous cabin, an elderly man walked out. He was none other than the great prophet Tears, who was rumored to have passed away. Miss, it seems you are one deeply favored by the gods. Even though I am an old man who is blind, I can still see the traces the gods have left upon you. Arlene explained that her purpose in coming here was to find the truth behind the fall of the Highland Kingdom, and she asked softly, is that person still alive? He is, but the prophecy has changed. The eagle with broken wings has found a nest to rest in, while an arrogant crow covets the eagle's nest. Tears was unwilling to answer any other questions, only saying that she was a person favored by the gods. Arlene was certain that the child of prophecy was Kassadin, and the crow must refer to Demian. As expected, he had always been plotting for the throne. She was truly curious. How would Kassadin react to this news? After all, in the blink of an eye, he had gone from a prince to a slave, enduring countless miserable days and nights. That burning desire for revenge must be incredibly strong. If he knew the son of the man who destroyed his country was still alive, would he be happy? My poor little brother. I'm so glad you and I share a common enemy. To think the gods would favor a twisted person like her? She was hardly worthy of the gods' favor. Arlene returned to the mansion, stood before Kassadin's door, hesitating whether to knock. Why have you come to see me? Is there something you need? Arlene stood by the window, gazing at Kassadin. Those large hands reached for her once more, only to be restrainedly pulled back. Sister, where did you go today? If you were so curious about where I was going, you should have followed me. You never tell me the truth. What are you so afraid of? Afraid I'll expose your identity? Or that I'll send you back to the fighting pits? If it's none of those, then are you afraid of me? She took Kassadin's hand and placed it on her own neck. If this would help you come to your senses, that would be wonderful. You can squeeze harder, it doesn't matter how hard. Use as much force as you have doubt in me. Kassadin's hand began to tremble. He forcefully pulled it back, roaring hysterically. Aren't you afraid you'll die? Or have you gone mad? How can you say such things with such an unhesitating expression? He hugged Arlene, his voice trembling. I'm sorry, sister. It's all my fault. Please don't ever do something like this again. I'm begging you. She could genuinely feel Kassadin's conflict and pain. He was actually a very kind person. She had thought her tears had all run dry in her past life. I love you, my brother. Kassadin was conflicted. Since yesterday, Arlene's image had been circling in his mind, preventing him from sleeping. When he learned she was going out this morning, he intentionally didn't follow. He thought that if he didn't see her, he wouldn't be agitated. But unexpectedly, her absence made him even more anxious. Why on earth did he follow her to the palace? Hearing her confess her love at first sight for the Duke with his own ears had sent him plunging into an abyss. She was a little bit crazy, but the one crazier than her was himself. Even knowing he was being pulled into a bottomless swamp by her, he didn't want to let go, afraid she would disappear from his arms. After that day, Arlene felt that Kassadin had completely changed. He began to treat her with reverence, no longer knocked on her door in the middle of the night, and never lied to her again. Indeed, her gamble had paid off. Meanwhile, Demian had recently sued the royal family, on the grounds of defamation. It seemed they would be meeting again soon. Just then, someone suddenly delivered a gift. It was from Demian. Demian sent Arlene a new slave, which sent her unhinged brother into a jealous rage. In addition to that, Demian also sent a box of tranquilizers, and wanted to meet with her as soon as possible. Arlene looked at the terrifying syringes and could only imagine what kind of abuse the man had suffered. She crouched down to observe, only to be startled by Kassadin's sudden appearance. "Can't you make some noise when you walk?" "I can't do that, then I wouldn't be able to see your surprised expression." "But is this the gift from that guy?" Demian had once said, that it took a great deal of effort to stop him from committing suicide. Just how much pain would it take to drive him to such an extreme choice? She felt guilty just by looking at the people in the cage. "What do you plan to do with him? It's a gift after all. So first, we'll wash him and get him some clothes," she instructed the butler. Seeing Kassadin remain silent, was he afraid his position would be threatened? "Kassadin, you are my only brother, so don't make that kind of face." Arlene didn't expect that. Due to his large build, they couldn't find any suitable clothes. Indeed, this body type can almost become a perfect warrior. No wonder Demian wanted to use him to curry favor with the crown prince. Never mind, we'll just have clothes custom-made. But she soon discovered a new problem. This slave couldn't speak. No matter what she said, he showed no reaction. Arlene tried using a commanding tone, and this time, he moved. A sofa that usually required 3 people to barely move. He lifted with ease. He neither ate nor spoke, as if he were a soulless tool. There were also strange wounds on his body. Arlene began to examine his body. Due to the tranquilizers, his heart rate was irregular. Unlike his robust appearance, his insides were a wreck. She suddenly remembered something, reached out and opened the man's mouth. This man's tongue had been cut out. She checked the components of the tranquilizer. It was poison, just as she'd thought. It made sense. With Damian's personality, he would never give away a powerful slave for nothing. She ordered him to lie on the bed. Regardless, she had to at least purify the poison from his body, and then restore his severed tongue. This was probably the most physically taxing healing she had ever performed. "I really hope that when you wake up, you can tell me what you experienced at the Duke's mansion." After speaking, she began the treatment. The poison corroding his body was purified bit by bit. The poison the Crown Prince had been afflicted with was nothing compared to this. She had to concentrate, pouring all her strength into it. After some unknown amount of time, his finger twitched, and clarity returned to his eyes. He looked at the girl before him, confused. "Who are you?" Arlene was utterly exhausted. She never thought that for the sake of healing, she would become this tired. Her father, returning from an outing with gifts for his daughter, opened the door only to find her collapsed on top of the man. Kassadin was still reflecting on his own childish behavior from moments ago, when he suddenly heard the Count's roar of anger. He burst into Arlene's bedroom, and immediately saw a sight that drove him mad. He threw a fierce punch. For the first time, the two were on the same side, united in their goal to kill the slave Arlene had just saved. The man was completely bewildered. Kassadin walked towards him. "How dare you while I was away? Use such cheap tricks. What do you mean by that? Also, who are you?" After speaking, he froze. His tongue had been cut out. "Do I need to give you my name? You'll be in hell soon enough anyway." Arlene slowly awoke, to the worried faces of her father and a maid. "Father, when did you get back?" The doting father began to blame himself. "It's all my fault for not paying enough attention to you lately. I can't believe I didn't notice a huge burly man had entered your room." Only then did Arlene remember the slave. "Are you saying, did you faint because you didn't sleep well last night?" Arlene quickly nodded. To the side was the man, beaten black and blue. "If you say so." Arlene turned to the man. "What's your name?" "My name is Dur. Dur, you were in very bad shape when you came to my house. Can you tell me what you experienced before?" "I'm sorry, I can't remember. It seems there are parts of my memory missing." "Then you can just talk about what you can remember, even if it's just a trivial detail." Dur hesitated for a moment. "Actually, before I lost consciousness, I heard a sentence. 'We need more blood.' My tongue was also cut out by that person. But when I woke up this time, I found it was perfectly intact. I really can't figure it out, so I didn't know how to tell you. Do you remember who did it?" "I was blindfolded and couldn't see. But from the voice, it was a man, and he sounded old. He had a strong smell of blood on him. An old man, the smell of blood, skilled in torture. It must be Demian's confidant, Kendall. He was probably the one who disposed of her body in her past life, too. The clues she had so far were too few. Thank you for telling me these difficult things. It won't happen again. Rest well here. Your clothes are being made and should be ready soon." Dur was overwhelmed by the favor. "I am just a slave. I can't trouble you any further. Do you want to wander around looking like that?" Only then did he realize he was bare-chested. "A servant will take you back to your room to rest." After Dur left, she looked at Kassadin. "You can leave, too." Kassadin's eyes were filled with anger. Without a word of farewell, he turned and left, slamming the door heavily behind him. Arlene was bewildered. What's wrong with him now? The old father was about to faint. "My darling daughter, I will try my best to accept Kassadin. But why did you bring back another slave? Can you please get rid of that guy who's built like a door panel right away? Tolerating one Kassadin is already my limit. I heard you even took him to the palace. And now everyone who sees me says I'm hiding a handsome man in my house. And he's already at risk of being discovered as a slave. Yet you brought another one back. Father, don't worry. I will hand him over to the crown prince immediately. Arlene quickly told her father about transferring the slave, finally managing to placate him. She didn't want to miss any information related to Demian. So Dur's cooperation was necessary, but she hadn't expected that Kassadin would wear a dark expression for days on end. She felt like she was suffocating. Do you require a slave to warm your bed? What was this nonsense he was spouting now? Kassadin walked up to her and handed her a tissue. If you need one, then use me. Don't be fooled by my appearance. I'm actually a filthy person, skilled in all sorts of things. Are you insane? No, I'm perfectly sane right now. So please, do not keep other men by your side. This was simply unbelievable to Arlene. How could a person belittle themselves so much, saying such things so calmly? Kassadin, what are you talking about? Who sets the standard for the kind of filth you're describing? Don't talk about yourself like you're a tool. She had once wanted to use the fact that Kassadin was a slave to control him and help herself, but that was all in the past. She genuinely saw him as her younger brother. But it wasn't until this moment that she realized, for him, the time he spent suffering inhuman torture as a tool had perhaps never ended. If this continued, what was the difference between her and Demian? She pulled Kassadin towards her. If I were to kiss you right now, would I become a dirty person too? Before he could answer, Arlene kissed his forehead. Sister, if you are dirty, then no one in this world is clean. I return those words to you exactly as you said them. Kassadin, do not belittle yourself because you are nobler than anyone. At that moment, Arlene decided to follow the prophecy, the eagle with broken wings. So that he would no longer have to lick his festering wounds alone, she would become Kassadin's nest. Kassadin gently rested his head on her lap, whispering softly. This time his voice was different from usual, carrying a slight tremor. When I said I hated you, I was lying, from the very first time we met. Until now, there hasn't been a single moment I've hated you. On the contrary, he lowered his head and kissed the back of Arlene's hand, not continuing his sentence. Arlene didn't press him either. She didn't want to impose what Demian had done to her. On to Kassadin. Besides, it was time for her to act to reclaim their rightful places. The host had arrived. She rose to greet him. I've been waiting for you. The person was none other than her fiancé from her past life. And her enemy, Demian Deus. You hadn't contacted me, so I was worried there was a problem with your health. How could that be? I've been busy with the lawsuit. Arlene proactively took his hand. I don't mean any ill will by saying this. My lord, I am truly happy to see you again. She wasn't simply expressing intimacy, but rather using the contact to sense Demian's physical condition. Just as she thought, his heart condition was severe. Around this time in her past life, she had already been treating him. And in order to cure him completely, Arlene had studied his condition. Extreme emotional fluctuations were also one of the triggers for his attacks. Thinking of this, she invited Demian to the Crown Prince's banquet. I plan to hand the slave over to Crown Prince at the banquet and help you get in touch with him. Demian readily accepted. It seems we'll be able to meet very soon. After Arlene left, Demian's butler appeared, bringing with him a document. Demian gave a disdainful smile. It was Kassadin's slave contract. What a ridiculous pair of siblings. When Arlene returned to the mansion, Dur had already changed into new clothes. The simple and honest man once again expressed his sincere gratitude. However, Arlene had a favor to ask of him. I hope you will attend the royal banquet with me. However, by doing so, you will meet the person who persecuted you. Do you mind? Of course not, because I truly want to repay you. Just after parting with Dur, she ran into Kassadin, who was waiting by the door. Are you planning to attend the banquet at the palace? I hope you can take me with you. No, you know that. I absolutely will not cause any more trouble. I'll be as quiet as a statue, so please take me with you. Arlene didn't want to bring him because he still mistakenly believed the crown prince was his enemy. She wanted to trust Kassadin, but reality didn't allow for it. If I take you, can you tell me your secret? I don't mean to force you, but if you don't want to say you can't come with me. She understood Kassadin's inability to confess his past, but the choice was entirely his. The next day, Arlene stepped into the carriage. Just a moment before leaving, Kassadin appeared. It seemed he was finally willing to face his past. This banquet had invited almost every noble in the empire. Miss Circia? Demian appeared. Even from afar, you were the only one I saw in the crowd. May I have the honor of accompanying you for the entire day, just as she agreed. Kassadin reached out and grabbed her arm. Sister, didn't we agree that I would accompany you today? Demian recognized him instantly. I've seen this one before at the birthday banquet. Arlene felt like he was driving her crazy. She mouthed a warning. Didn't you say you'd be as quiet as a statue? The thick-skinned Kassadin continued his act. Have you forgotten your promise to me, sister? He is your brother, isn't he? So you do remember me. After all, you have a pair of unforgettable eyes. This is the third time. We always seem to meet as a trio. So Demian had recognized Cassadine back in the prison. What an annoying man. Of course, Arlen wouldn't admit it. This is clearly only the second time you two have met. Demian didn't press the issue. He turned to Cassadine. Your sister has already agreed to accompany me today, so I shall be the one to escort her. Cassadine once again stood in front of Arlen. Unless my sister rejects me herself, I will absolutely not let go of her hand. Is that so? Demian took Arlen's other hand. You must be in a difficult position, miss. A mere slave daring to be so insolent. Arlen forcefully shook him off. Your Grace, are you insulting my brother? Demian was surprised. He hadn't expected her to defend a slave. Suddenly, an announcement came from outside. The Crown Prince had arrived. He saw Arlen at a glance. I didn't think you'd actually come. How could I possibly refuse your Highness's invitation? That's true. Demian suddenly spoke up. Your Highness, I'm glad to see you are safe and sound. The Crown Prince looked disgusted. I don't recall inviting you. How can I possibly swallow my pride when you treat an innocent man like this? The moment you sued the royal family, you lost my trust. The royal family never trusted me, did it? You must be joking. Cassadine didn't want Arlen to get caught in the conflict, so he advised, Your Highness, there are too many eyes and ears here. But the Crown Prince turned his aim on him. We have an unusual number of uninvited guests today. Arlen put on an innocent face. Your Highness, he is my brother. I'll graciously let him off this time. However, why is your brother constantly holding your hand? Because we agreed beforehand that I would accompany my sister today. I thought it was strange last time. Aren't you siblings? But the way you look at Arlen, it's really not like a brother, more like a... Arlen quickly cut him off. Your Highness, may I have this dance? The entire hall fell silent in an instant. The Crown Prince burst out laughing. You always surprise me. Your words and actions are completely abnormal. To be called abnormal by this nonsensical man. However, it's usually the gentleman who asks for a dance. So, Arlen, will you have this dance with me? Just as she was about to accept, she was stopped once again. Sister, Arlen whispered, don't worry. His eyes became downcast. The Crown Prince took her hand and turned to Demian. Before we dance, I want the uninvited guests to leave. I apologize, but I have an appointment with Miss Circia. Miss, don't you have something to show His Highness? This was what Arlen had been waiting for. She called for Dur. He stepped forward. The Crown Prince looked puzzled. Arlen began to explain. He is a slave, the gift that Duke Demian intended to give you at the birthday banquet. Before I explain everything, I hope you will first promise to guarantee my safety. I'm afraid that after I tell the truth, the Duke will take his anger out on me. Wait, why do you think I would harm you? This is slander. The Crown Prince stopped Demian. I didn't ask you, so keep your mouth shut for now. Then again, with your swordsmanship being the best in the nation, you could certainly get rid of someone with ease. Demian's face was livid. Not only did you throw an innocent man in prison, but now you're going to insult me in public. Isn't it your own fault for not being more careful with your words and actions? Otherwise, why would Arlen ask me to protect her? Arlen had thought the Crown Prince would vent his anger on Demian, but she hadn't expected him to push Demian this far. She wouldn't be satisfied with just this, though. After all, her revenge had only just begun. Your Highness, because of my admiration for Duke Demian, I once visited him in prison, but he tried to use my friendship with you to help him escape punishment. Demian tried to stop her from continuing, but the Crown Prince blocked him. Although the situation was suspicious, the Duke was released due to insufficient evidence. If that's the case, why would he need to use our friendship for such a thing? Depending on the situation, a friendship can yield different benefits. Powerful people are often not satisfied with what they already hold in their hands. Although I don't understand what a man who already holds the high position of a duke could possibly want that is more precious. Arlen's words were tantamount to saying Demian coveted the throne. Arlen Circia, Demian roared at her. That's enough. Please do not come near my sister again. Demian excitedly grabbed Cassadine. You arrogant brat, you're nothing but a lowly slave from the fighting pits. His voice echoed throughout the banquet hall. What? A slave? Cassadine sighed. Your Grace seems to be a very important person. And yet, we have only met twice to this day. Yet you speak as if you know me very well. After suing the royal family as a suspect in an attempted poisoning, you still walk into a royal banquet so brazenly. If it were me, I would never be able to do such a thing. Cassadine's mockery further provoked Demian. He suddenly clutched his heart and staggered before the two of them, gasping painfully for air, his body even beginning to tremble in pain. Arlen covered her mouth in ecstasy. Her eyes were filled with madness. Finally, ever since her rebirth, she had been waiting for this moment. Oh my goodness, Your Grace. Your face is so pale. Is there something wrong with your heart? Heart? This was the secret Demian had always wanted to hide. This naturally caught the Crown Prince's attention. Is there a problem with the Duke's heart? She replied smoothly. His Grace is clutching the area over his heart, We should call a doctor to take a look. Demian endured the sharp pain. I don't need a doctor. Please call my butler. Arlen looked at Dur. Dur, come and help the Duke. Don't touch me. Demian struggled to refuse, but was held down by Dur. I heard you were my former master? Demian's expression turned to one of terror. This is the first time I've had the chance to formally greet you. Your Grace, Duke Demian. How can this be? Your tongue was clearly. Being provoked again made the pain in Demian's heart even more severe. The moment before he fainted, he faintly heard Arlen's voice. I know a doctor who can treat any illness or injury. That night, Arlen had a dream. She dreamt that on the day she died, a great fire also broke out in the imperial palace. The entire royal knight order rebelled, the emperor was executed, and the empire fell on that day. The one who caused all of this was her brother Kassadin. Arlen awoke from the dream with a start. She was gasping for air. Sister, did you have a nightmare? Don't worry, I've been by your side the whole time. She had fallen asleep in the carriage on the way back, and he had carried her back to her room. Arlen then realized she was in her nightgown. Wait, you said you've been by my side the whole time? The maids changed her clothes. I stepped out. Sister, don't you trust me? Of course I trust you. I trust you too. To say she wouldn't soften at such a smile would surely be a lie. But now, things had to be made clear. Do you remember our promise? Of course I do. But where should I start? There was once a kingdom called Highland. Its king loved peace, so it remained neutral. But due to its weak military, it was annihilated without resistance under the iron heel of a powerful nation. The royal bloodline was massacred, leaving only a prince who, having lost everything, became a slave, living a life worse than death. He lived for only one purpose, revenge. I want to utterly destroy the trash that ruined Highland and make them feel all the pain that I have endured. Arlen told him about Demian's ambition for the throne. When I said I admired him, it was a lie. The purpose was to gather more information on him. During my investigation, I discovered something. Demian's father was the main culprit behind Highland's destruction. The Empire once had a great prophet, who prophesied that Highland would give birth to a talent capable of unifying the continent. Demian's father felt threatened, and used the prophecy as a pretext to launch a crusade against the Highland kingdom. I see. All because of a single prophecy, Arlen continued. The man who trampled Highland is already dead. I know the Empire's mistakes cannot be undone. It's just... Arlen stopped. She was suddenly afraid to hear his answer. She remembered that nightmare. In the dream, Kassadin's eyes were hollow and desperate, devoid of any emotion. Kassadin seemed to sense her unease. Sister, back then, although you healed my scars, I wasn't happy at all. My life was filled with resentment and hatred for this country. You were always trying to force your way into my life. I thought that if I scared you, you would stop bothering me. At that time, I thought defiantly, I've already gone this far. Surely you'll give up on me now, but you still chose to embrace me. My wish seems to have changed. Now, I've found another reason to live. You were the one who saved me from sunless despair. Therefore, you are my salvation. Demian, having returned from the banquet, found his condition stabilized. His face was full of resentment. I underestimated that woman. Arlen Serkia. She's a complete lunatic. The next day, Kassadin suddenly burst into Dur's room. Surprised him. Why have you come looking for me alone? Kassadin's expression was cold. I'm the one who should be asking questions. You just need to answer. It turned out that because Dur kept claiming to have lost his memory, Kassadin didn't believe him. He was going to force Dur to reveal information about the Duke's household. If I could, I would want to remember what happened. The kindness Lady Arlen has shown me is already more than I can ever repay. His neck was seized by Kassadin. Don't you dare say my sister's name! What are you doing? Arlen walked in on the scene. In Demian's home, he stared at the portrait on the wall, remembering his father's last words. You must ascend to the throne because only you are worthy of that position. But before that, he had to solve this damned heart condition. The butler brought in his medicine. He had found more new ingredients. Master, the slave we sent to the Count's mansion. Not only has his tongue been restored, but his body has also returned to health. He had a bad feeling and wanted to advise his master to stay away from Arlen. But how could the conceited Demian possibly listen? It's just one beast and one pampered noble lady. You just focus on preparing the ingredients. Because Arlen had secured the crown prince's approval at the banquet, she was preparing to let Dur stay. She found Kassadin in the garden. So you've decided to keep that guy after all. Am I not enough for you? Arlen was helpless. You should know that's not the issue at all. Sister, you used to always say you loved me. Why have you stopped recently? Arlen didn't used to understand the weight the word love carried. Once she gradually came to understand it, she could no longer say it to him so casually. She rejected Kassadin's embrace. This is something between lovers, not siblings. Kassadin no longer hid his desire. We're not really siblings anyway. I've never once thought of you as my family. He grabbed Arlen's hand. Were you pricked by a rose thorn? Then, he licked the blood directly from her finger. Arlen stared at this incredible scene. She forcefully pushed Kassadin away. She was angry, but who was she angry at? Kassadin? For destroying this superficial family relationship? Or herself for hesitating before pushing him away? This strange game of siblings was finally over. I have always been fond of you, from the moment our eyes met in the fighting pits. Although I once tried to draw a line between us, I later realized just how important your touch and your gentle smile were to me. You once asked me what I wanted. Now it's my turn to ask you, what do you want? I am willing to become a sword that belongs only to you, to get you everything you desire. Therefore, I want your eyes to see only me. Kassadin, have you gone completely mad? Although I never expected you to truly see me as a sister, we did make a promise after all. You shouldn't be saying things like this, at the very least. We are officially adopted siblings. Arlen had realized long ago that, despite enduring inhuman torture, Kassadin's smile remained bright and pure. This sibling bond, forged only for the sake of revenge, when did he start to put his true heart into it? Kassadin suddenly changed his attitude. In that case, please banish me from the family? What are you talking about? Don't you think our current situation is strange? Since you hate me, you can just banish me. Why would you say that? Do you want me to abandon you? He was silent for a moment, then said, because I don't want to be your weakness. In the study, the Count was furious. This is insane. Which bastard wrote this report? The newspaper had published the news that Kassadin was once a slave. Since the day before, Arlen had locked herself in her room. She hadn't answered Kassadin. Even she didn't know what she wanted. She wanted him to be like pigment spreading through water, to be colored by her. But she hadn't realized that. While she was coloring him, she was being colored herself. What exactly was their relationship? Her father suddenly came looking for her. The Crown Prince gave you that big guy? Dad, I'm so sorry. I promised you I'd send him away, but it ended up like this. You're not planning on having him join our family, are you? Of course not. I would never do that. Her father gave her a suspicious look. And you won't make him your knight either? Just keep him here as a slave? Hearing his daughter's confirmation, he breathed a sigh of relief. They both mentioned Kassadin at the same time. Her father spoke his mind. I never expected to hide it forever. After all, he's very conspicuous. Actually, I really disliked him at first, and I wanted to kick him out immediately. But he was always doing things to help me. The longer we spent together, the more I felt he was no ordinary person. Not just his demeanor, but his ability to learn is incredible. A document that takes me days to perfect, he can finish in a single day. That's why I once suspected he might be a fallen noble from some country. Actually, Kassadin came to see me this morning. He asked me to banish him from the family, saying he couldn't let us get into trouble because of him. He also asked me to give you this letter. He said he would handle this matter himself, and that he would definitely repay your kindness in the future. Arlen. He has already left this place. In a wooden cabin in the forest, a man knelt on the ground. The cloaked man took a bottle from his pocket, opened it and sniffed, and immediately froze. He remembered what the dark-skinned man had said. It turned out that guy hadn't been lying. The beast she had tamed with her own hands had left her in the end. But father said he is like a migratory bird, and that he will one day return to his nest. He seemed to have sensed my dislike, so he only called me father when you were around. One time, I was particularly angry, and I insulted him for seducing my daughter. When he heard it, he actually laughed, and said he didn't expect a count to be the first to speak to a slave. Have you no pride? I'm insulting you. And you know what he said? In my current situation, I have no time to worry about such things, so how could I possibly mind? For me, just being by her side is happiness enough. Only now did Arlen realize that while she was so focused on knowing his past, she had never once thought to understand his heart. Arlen. Kassadin was too insistent, so I had no choice but to remove him from the family register. But he promised me he would definitely return. Didn't he leave a letter for you? So let's just trust him this one time. 2 days later, at the Duke's mansion, Demian received an unexpected visitor. I didn't think you'd dare to come looking for me. And my subordinate's disappearance. Was that also the work of you, the Count's slave? Isn't your Grace's information network usually excellent? Did you not know I've been disowned by the Count? That's a fitting end for you. A slave should never covet things they are unworthy of, and I have your Grace to thank for that. So, you want revenge on me? I've come to make a deal with your Grace. Demian laughed out loud. You, a mere slave, want to make a deal with me. Are you tired of living? Do you think I'd bother with someone like you over a mere butler? Is your stupidity and filthiness innate, or did it come from performing all those lowly acts in the fighting pits? It's truly disgusting. Actually, the one who sells their body to survive, and the one who drinks the blood of commoners to survive, we're both equally disgusting, aren't we? Demian, his secret exposed, quickly calmed down. Is that all you came here to say? That was medicine containing goat's blood. He was just taking care of me when I was ill. Kassadin had already investigated thoroughly. The Duke's mansion frequently recruits servants, requiring them to be young, strong, and single. And yet, there seem to be very few servants here. Should we investigate where they've all gone? This completely enraged Demian. He drew his sword and pointed it at Kassadin. "You damned slave, how dare you threaten me?" Demian suffered from a severe heart condition. He had found someone who once had a severe heart condition, but had suddenly recovered. The prescription he obtained through force was to mix human blood into the medicine. He tested it on the spot using that person's life, and sure enough, it eased his pain. The swung sword was easily parried by Kassadin. "Calm down, Your Grace. I never intended to be your enemy. I will forget about this matter and also return your butler, on the condition that you agree to a small request of mine." Although Demian despised slaves, he was a man who greatly valued talent. Kassadin's sharp insight combined with his skills sparked an idea in him to win him over. He sheathed his weapon. "Let's hear this amazing deal of yours." Kassadin smiled. "It's simple. Please participate in the martial arts tournament on this year's National Foundation Day.